Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going deep. I mean, really deep, inside our own bodies. We're about to meet the elite special forces of your immune system. We're talking about cell-mediated immunity. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll size up the enemy. Then, we'll meet the elite squad, see them in action, and figure out how they train and remember their foes. Let's get into it. So first up, the enemy within. You've got to ask, why do we even need these special forces in the first place? Well, it all comes down to where the bad guys decide to hide. Right. This is the whole problem. You've heard of antibodies, and they are amazing at fighting invaders that are just floating around in your blood. But what happens when the enemy isn't floating around? What happens when it gets inside our own cells? Antibodies can't see them there. They're totally blind to the threat. Okay, let's get our bearings with a map of the whole immune system. There's a lot going on, but we're going to zero in on this one specific branch right here, Cell-Mediated Immunity, or CMI. This is the team that's built for one incredibly tricky job, hunting threats that are hiding inside our very own cells. And these guys have a very specific hit list. You know, they're not just out there chasing any old bug. No, they are hunting for the real inside jobs. We're talking about our own cells that have been hijacked by a virus, cells that have gone rogue and become cancerous, and yeah, even cells from a transplanted organ that your body sees as an invader. Here is the absolute best way to picture it. Think of the antibody system, that's called humoral immunity, as an archer. It stands back, firing arrows at enemies out in the open. But cell-mediated immunity? Oh, that's the swordsman. It gets right up close and personal for some direct cell-to-cell combat. Totally different strategies for totally different fights. Okay, so now we know why we need this squad. It's time to meet the actual soldiers. Let's assemble the elite team, the T cells. You know, every superhero has an origin story, right? Well, T cells are no different. They start life in the bone marrow, but to become these elite assassins, they have to go to a special boot camp, a training academy called the thymus gland. And that's actually where the T in T cell comes from. And this isn't just one kind of soldier. It's a whole specialized team. You've got your helper T cell. This is the commander, the one who sounds the alarm. Then you've got the cytotoxic T cell or killer T cell. Yep, that's the muscle. The suppressor T cell is the one who says, okay, mission's over, stand down. And then maybe the most important one, the memory T cell. This is the veteran who never ever forgets an enemy's face. All right, the team's assembled. Let's see them in action. Target acquired, mission is a go. So how do they actually pull this off? How do they find one bad cell in a sea of trillions of good ones? It all starts with reconnaissance. Our cells use special molecules called MHC to basically show the T cells what's going on inside. Think of MHC1 as a little window on every cell, showing a sample of its internal proteins. If it's infected, it's like waving a red flag that says, "Help me!" Then you have MHC2, which is like a security badge worn only by professional immune cells that are shouting, "Hey everyone, look at the bad guy I found." Okay, so here's how it kicks off. An antigen-presenting cell finds an intruder and shows a piece of it to the commander, the helper T cell. This is like a secret handshake. Once the helper T cell confirms the threat is real, it's go time. It unleashes a flood of chemical signals, basically sounding the alarm and activating the entire squad. And here comes the final blow, the cytotoxic strike. Once the killer T cell gets the signal, it hunts down any body cell waving that "I'm infected" red flag. When it finds one, it locks on and releases these deadly proteins called perforins. And perforin literally means to perforate. It punches holes all over the infected cell until it just bursts. Game over. All right, that was the battle. Let's zoom out now and look at the whole war. How did we build up this amazing defense system in the first place? Let's talk about borrowed versus built immunity. So the immunity you get over your lifetime, your acquired immunity, isn't just one thing. It's kind of like a family tree. It splits into two big branches. Active immunity, which is when you make it, and passive immunity, which is when you get it from somewhere else. Let's start with active immunity. This is the DIY approach. Your body earns this protection the hard way, either by getting sick and recovering or artificially through a vaccine. Now, it takes time to build up, but, and this is a huge but, because your body learned how to do it, the protection is incredibly long-lasting. Then you have passive immunity. Think of this as a temporary loan. It could be natural, like a baby getting antibodies from its mother, or artificial, like getting an antivenom shot. The huge advantage, it's instant protection. The downside, it doesn't last. Your body didn't learn the lesson, it just got the cheat sheet. And all of this brings us to what is honestly the most amazing part of the whole system, the power of memory. This is the real game changer. It's what turns your immune system from a rookie into a seasoned veteran. Okay, look at this graph. This right here is the whole story. The first time you get exposed to a bug, you have a primary response. See that little hill? It's kind of slow, kind of weak. But if that same bug ever dares to show up again, bam! Look at that second peak. That's the secondary response, thanks to your memory cells. It is so much faster and stronger, you might not even know you were sick. And that massive second spike, that is precisely the magic behind vaccines. A vaccine is just a boot camp for your immune system. It lets your body go through that slow primary response and build an army of memory cells, so that if you ever see the real deal, you're ready. All the training, none of the actual danger. All right, let's do a quick debrief. T cells get their training in the thymus. Helper Ts are the commanders who sound the alarm. Cytotoxic Ts are the warriors who deliver the final blow. And building your own active immunity is the key to creating that incredible, long-lasting immune memory. And that leaves us with one final thought. We've gotten pretty good at training this internal army with vaccines. But now that we understand these elite cellular forces so well, what's next? What's the next frontier for harnessing the power of this incredible internal army? Thanks for watching.